Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, and today I've got a wonderful guest. Her name is Ambila Nath. Good morning, Ambila.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Lyn.
You're very welcome. Ambila is a dating and relationship coach, and today we're going to be talking about age is not your enemy, you are. So this is a fascinating subject, and I think that we're both quite familiar with this being an issue for many of our clients, aren't we, Ambila?
Yes, very much so. It constantly just keeps on coming up with all of my clients as a block.
Well, before we get into that as a hot topic, may I just get you to share a little bit about yourself and how you ended up doing what you're doing and being involved in this particular industry, to give our listeners a bit of a background about you?
Well, like everybody else, I started off with a 9 to 5 job, or in my case, it was a 9 to however hours you can fit into the day job. But I always wanted to break out and have my own business. And I've always had a passion relating to knowing about people, psychology, all of that kind of thing. So back about nearly 2 decades ago, I was looking for something that fitted psychology, fitted counselling, but all on the positive side. And within the UK, there wasn't really anything. Coaching was just emerging, and I didn't want to become a corporate coach. So I studied coaching for 3 years, went through the whole coaching process myself, went through my own journey during that process. And as things evolved organically, I started attracting a lot more people, friends, associates, other people I was working with, and it always seemed to be around relationships, questions relating to relationships, advice relating to relationships. And it just kind of, the niche fell into place, even though I probably resisted it for quite some time, because I did the dating thing, then I went into confidence, and then I went into other kinds of mainstream coaching, thinking, no, that's where I need to be. And then around about 3 years ago, I came straight back into the dating and relationship arena.
Yeah, I think for me, I think sometimes a niche finds you rather than you find it, doesn't it?
Completely. And I think it's just been exactly like that. It's not like, like yourself, we have the skills to be able to coach in every area. But as you said, the niche picks you, and it's not that we don't have the knowledge or the expertise in the others. It's just that this is a natural fit.
Absolutely.
And I love it. I enjoy it. I love seeing people come together.
Yeah, and me, and I really sort of can see now, looking back in hindsight, how all the dots have connected for me, and why I'm doing what I'm doing, and why it's become such a hot topic for me, and why I want to share these wisdom insights with specifically women, but certainly you men out there, I'm sure are going to pick up lots of hot tips and bits of wisdom as well.
Definitely. And as you were saying, the world is just changing so much. We no longer live in a society where things are for life. No. That concept is just being completely broken. So lots and lots of changes happening.
Right, so let's get down to the hot topic then, Ambila. Age is not your enemy, you are. So give us some information around why you think this is a big issue for women specifically at the moment.
Well, a lot of my clients that I've been coaching, because we go through a set process of looking at lots of things in depth, and this is one of the major blocks that just constantly keeps coming up, where women get to a certain age in their mind, not in terms of actual age specific, but somewhere in their mind, and they think, that's it for me. I'm not going to find somebody. And most of that is to do with where they feel that they're too old. They've basically been there and done it in their 20s and 30s. So, and I'm talking about the earlier part of the 30s, where, you know, that's the eligible pool within the 15 years of your life between 20 to 35 to find somebody. And if you don't accomplish that, then that's it, it's over for you. And it's just amazing just how many people psychologically give up at that point and start putting up so many barriers and so many things relating to why they can't move forward and why it's just not going to work for them now.
Well, I can share one insight that's going to help women straight away around that subject, and that is I'm in a 10-year, just over 10 years we've been together with my partner Paul now, and we met when we were both coming up to 50 years of age. So hopefully that'll encourage the listeners that are identifying with what you're saying to know that you can, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. I basically say to women that you should never give up on love, regardless of what age you are. You could be 90 and that's still okay to find love. It's all about being open to it. And it's all about, as people, one thing we, you know, again, I've noted in a lot of women, and I'm sure it happens in men as well, that we get into our comfort zones because it's safe there. We don't want to break free and get hurt again or have that failure. And when we get to a certain age, again, mentally, because all of this is mental, when we get to a certain age mentally, we kind of go into our comfort zone, where we know our habits, where we, you know, if we've been living together living alone for a long time, then we are happy with our space and the way life is. And feeling that somebody else can come into that feels like an intrusion, even though they might really be wanting somebody. But subconsciously, they're feeling it as an intrusion of, oh my God, I'm going to have to change. I'm going to have to put my flowers somewhere else because I've got to create space for another person. So all of a sudden those become blocks, which translate in, I'm too old, I'm never going to find somebody.
So what's the process you start with then, if you've got this as a big red flag that's being waved in front of you, as you know, wearing your dating and relationship coach head? You know, how do you overcome this? What's the first thing you work on around changing that mindset for your clients?
It's giving them that awareness that it exists. So it's making them aware of the kind of language that they're actually using and the impact it's happening. I'm also an intuitive coach, so I do quite a lot of energy related work. And part of my coaching is really looking at where that block is sitting within them as well. So once they kind of realize the awareness and the frequency that they're using that language as a barrier, we start to look at why that has formed. So we'll go back to their childhood, maybe the first breakup, maybe wherever that point of block started, and kind of go really deep into the process from right to the beginning to the middle to the end, which is, you know, getting them out of that. And it's working with them to find where that block is, to then do a set of coaching. I use the word rituals, but I don't mean it in a spiritual sense, but, you know, to release those blocks, to change that thought pattern, to change the language, all of those kinds of things. And then we'll take positive steps to actually start getting them out there again and, you know, finding that person for them.
So could you give us an example case study, you know, so that any listeners listening can relate to, you know, them maybe having a similar block and where it might have started? Would you be happy to share that, Ambila?
Yeah, sure. I won't name clients, but one of my clients basically is approaching her late 40s. And she, as I was saying earlier on, you know, people get into a comfort zone and stuff. So she has basically been single. I was going to use the word alone, but single for quite a few years. And she's gotten used to her pattern of life, being with friends, work, you know, other things that she does. And she also got into that mindset of, okay, I'm over a certain age, I can't have biological children, so therefore that means the pool of men for me no longer exists. All the good ones are taken, married already, with somebody, nobody's going to find me. And what we did was basically we literally went back to her childhood and looked at her first crush and looked at the impact that this had had on her. Because basically what she was doing due to that failure when she was in her teenage years was that she was constantly rejecting men throughout her life in some way or another, to the point that when it got to, after a certain age where most people in this society now consider them that they should be settled with children, have their picket fence and all of that kind of ideal life. When she felt she was past that life, she just kind of mentally blocked everything and went, that's it. I'm not going to find anybody for me now. I'm too old. And I think a lot of it was also driven by society and the things that she was hearing from, her family, her mother kind of going, oh yeah, but you are getting old, when are you going to have children? And all of those indirect remarks that we as women make to other women.
Yes.
But we don't realize just how hurtful and what an impact they're actually having on a person's life. So it was an assortment of so many things that that just basically chipped away at her confidence and self-esteem. And she just felt that was it. She had basically, now she was going to be spending the rest of her life as a single woman. And she just wasn't going to find the kind of man that she wanted to be out there. So when we started working together, we really, as I said, dug deep into that whole history, because you have to go into the past to bring you into the current. So we went back into the past, really worked on all of those things. Really got her to build her confidence in herself first. You need to be confident in yourself. And then once she was able to do that, we actually got her out dating and, meeting men and realizing that actually men are also in the same boat.
Yeah.
Because life has changed now. A lot of people are finding themselves in their mid-40s plus, and where they expected that they're heading now to the golden years of, settled life, all of a sudden they might find themselves single. And it's like, that wasn't part of the plan. That wasn't where I thought I was going to be. Or women who, like my client, never really found that person, because, as soon as she reached her mid-30s, she put that mental block on. So therefore, she actually stopped attracting the kind of men that she liked. And so her journey was a little slightly different. But she got out dating and helped to raise her confidence. She hasn't yet found the right person, but she has raised her confidence in knowing that actually there are a lot of men out there.
It's just great to hear that she's getting out and dating and knows that she can attract, men.
Yeah, exactly. And I should say that she's recent dating. So it's not as if she's been dating for 2 years and still hasn't found somebody. She's literally recent dating. So from that point of view, it's really great. And it's also getting her out doing new things, which is something else she was afraid to, I suppose, try, because she kept on, and again, I hear this quite a bit, that people put off doing things until they think they find the person to do it with. So all of a sudden she's actually trying new activities, which she was kind of maybe not having the confidence to go out and do by herself.
Yeah.
But it actually helping her to meet men which aren't in the dating arena, but just in the social arena, which is really far more comfortable, because then it's not that contrived, setup and stuff where you're kind of both going, oh, is it going to work for us and stuff. So it's a lot more relaxed. And and actually she's feeling a lot more happier and confident in herself. And the wonderful thing is the belief she has in herself that she is going to find somebody.
Excellent. I mean, that's a huge shift in itself. And the thing is that I want to reiterate to people that you don't have to massively think that, I've got to change hugely. I mean, it does happen that you do change hugely over time, but that initial first step only needs to be a small little first step. For example, I tend to give the analogy that, if a pilot is flying a plane and he just turns half a degree off course, he'll end up in a different destination. So you don't have to necessarily take a huge step to start with it and massively make yourself uncomfortable in order to end up, where you exactly want to be.
Exactly. And that's one thing I say to my clients very clearly. I guarantee that you will meet the kind of men that you want to meet, but I don't guarantee that you will have an instant relationship. And a lot of that is exactly as you said, it's giving them the confidence to get out dating again, because that's what it boils down to, opening them up in their belief that they can find that person.
Yes.
But just doing little things. And for me, that little thing is raising their confidence in themselves.
It's just taking that first step. And sometimes, clients aren't aware of the negative self-talk or the negative things that have kept them stuck until they start working with a coach, are they? They don't actually realize, I think, and then they think, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this was keeping me stuck exactly where I've been the last few years. And again, it's not about beating yourself up once you have that realization, because we've all done this, and we don't know what we don't know.
Well, exactly. I mean, before I trained as a coach, I wouldn't have understood listening to your language, that concept of what do you mean I listen to what I talk? Why would I be listening to what I'm saying? But as coaches, we're trained to actually hear what people are saying. So yeah, it's because of that I'm actually able to give others that awareness of going, do you realize how many times you put yourself down, or that you say that you're never going to find somebody? So yeah, it's totally giving them those little gems so that they can take that forward with them.
Absolutely. I think it is around them getting that realization that their own self-talk, has been a sticking point. And, if you're always saying to yourself but not actually realizing that I'm never going to find the right man, then you live up to that, don't you?
You do. You completely keep on manifesting that in your life, and you keep on, as it happened with one of my other clients, an example when we were working together, and one of her blocks was, I keep meeting all the men that I'm not attracted to and who don't live up to the kind of man I want to be with, because she so strongly believed that those were the kind of men that she was going to keep meeting, the ones that she wasn't attracted to. That's what she kept on manifesting.
Exactly. And isn't it a huge shift when they realise that actually
exactly
that's the reason why.
Exactly. And those were the kind of men that kept on showing up and constantly saying to her, yeah, you're right, you're never going to meet them. So she literally believed so strongly that that shift took a long time, quite some work to move. But yes,
I'm sure it did. So when you think about what advice and insights and challenges that women have that around this issue, another thing that came up sort of off air was that you said a lot of women have a fear around dating younger guys as well.
Yeah, this is amazing. I always find it puts a smile on my face, because I am, or was, when I was back in my 20s and 30s, I was that woman. And I remember my friends laugh at me now, but I remember I would not date a man who was a month younger than me, because I was like, no, they're too immature, not going there. And so therefore, no, I need somebody maturer. Even if he's a month older than I am, he's far more mature. So it's amazing what we carry from that age and thinking. Not saying that in the 20s that men aren't immature or whatever. But one thing I have realized with time, and I think with knowledge and the internet and what's available to us, that some men, not all, I'm not going to generalize, but a lot of men are maturing. And because the female role has changed, so they also have had to change in ways as well. So their journey has changed. And as a result, I am finding that there are a lot of younger men, and younger men, I'm talking younger than my client age, so say mid-30s onwards, are actually mature. They're responsible. They may be single fathers, they may be divorcees with children, they may be men who have a lot of responsibility in terms of their business or the jobs they do, so that there's a sense of a lot more maturity within them. And they are actually attracted to older women, because one thing you've got to remember now is that a lot of women do not look their actual age anymore, because the way we grow up older, looking after ourselves, our health, hair dye, which is a wonderful concept, makeup, we take a lot more pride in how we look and appear, not in a vain way, but just in a healthy way.
Yes.
And that in itself means that we look a lot more younger than maybe, our parents did or our grandparents did. And so from that kind of concept, I'm finding that younger men are attracted to the older woman, but without thinking of age as the, factor. They're looking at the personality of that person. They're looking at the maturity. They're looking at the confidence. And not necessarily going, oh, but she's older than I am, so therefore I can't go there. And, that whole concept is changing. And as a result, I'm finding a lot of my clients, once they've been through the process, are open to meeting men who are slightly younger than they are, and giving them that, I'll use the word opportunity, because it's still a work in progress for some, but to raise that confidence and believe that actually it's okay, that I'm not going to be a mother figure to them.
Yeah, I love that, because I agree with you. When I think about when I was a young girl growing up, when I looked at my grandparents, who were probably then in their 50s or 60s, they really did look ancient, and now here's me, I'm 60 at the end of this month. And I'm thinking,
amazing.
And I'm thinking, I don't look, anything like my sort of caricature image that I had of them when they were that age.
Yeah,
anything
completely.
like that.
And it's not only exactly the same as me. I remember when I was in my teens and I looked at somebody in their 40s and I went, oh my God, they're so old. And then I remember when I hit 40s and I went, why do I still feel as though I'm 28?
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's very much also to do with your mental age, because everything, as I said, in my title, age isn't your enemy, you are, because it's about our mindset. It's how we think about, ourselves and how we view ourselves.
And I feel that also, we're a population that's gaining such a lot more awareness around our health and longevity. And we're a generation now that are going to be living far longer than previous generations. Do you not think that as well?
Yeah, no, completely. It is completely. Everything has changed in terms of the awareness, in terms of male mindsets. I have a nephew myself who's dating somebody older than him, completely fine with it. No blinking. I remember, again, as I was saying, using my example of being in my 20s and going, oh my God, I can't even date a guy a month younger than me. Yet he's kind of like, you know what, I'm mature and I want somebody mature, because then I can have that life I want, rather than, somebody younger. So, it's kind of like they're born with that mindset now. It's not an issue. I think it's still an issue with maybe our generation and the generation above. But with the younger generation, not so much, because they're not seeing those things as a barrier. They're looking at the person. They're looking at, who they are.
Yeah, I don't actually even tend to, look at age as being an age. I tend to look at it
No.
as being, rather than getting older, it's getting wiser.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, completely. I speak to so many of my clients and friends, and everybody goes, I don't feel the age I am. I feel as though I'm still about in my mid 20s or 30s, or,
Mm.
whatever their golden age or year was. That's where they feel they are. And all of that is always almost half or at least a third of, their actual age. So yeah, definite age is definitely no longer an existing factor unless you make it an excuse to use.
No,
Because
that's
again, I think it's a block. It's another excuse for you blocking yourself from moving forward.
so. What we're advocating in all this language, ladies, is don't let age be a barrier to dating younger guys.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not saying, go for, or excuse the phrase, immature men, choose wisely. But what I'm saying is give men a chance, because they are a lot more mature than maybe my time, that they used to be. Concepts and thinking and mindset have changed a lot. So just be open to it. And why not? If you get one date out of it and you think, no, it's not for me, then you've not lost anything apart from maybe being spoiled for one evening, or, being treated well. So, yeah, so definitely just be open to it and give them a chance. And you're opening up the pool of men available to you, as vice versa for, men.
Yeah,
So it's just about opening yourself up completely.
I absolutely 100% agree. By having that mindset, I'm open to dating men regardless of their age. You learn such a lot through that process as well. Regardless of whether you actually end up going on a second date with them or not is another matter. But actually, what you learn as a part of going through that process, you can take forward, into your next dating experience, and never think that, if a date hasn't worked out and progressed onto a second date, that it's a failure or a rejection. It's just feedback,
Exactly.
on how you can, improve on what you already know going forward.
Exactly. And something that you were talking about just prompted me, is that even if you were dating a man your age or maybe a little slightly older, there's no guarantee there will be a second date. So don't use the age as the excuse that that date didn't work.
Mm.
It could just well be that you as two people didn't work. You weren't a match, but that has nothing to do with age. It could be just attraction. It could just be, not much in common. So yeah, so don't use age as the reason why things didn't work. It will always be another factor of why it didn't work.
And it's actually, even if they're the one that are not interested in you, but you're interested in them,
Exactly.
it's a case of, well, actually, don't take it as rejection either, because
Completely. That,
they're actually doing you a favor, because if they're not a good match, or if they're not interested in you for whatever reason, because they don't feel aligned, they're actually saving you the heartache of being in a relationship with them that might not have worked out anyway. So, be grateful, if they don't want to progress it, because they're saving you a lot of time and energy and wasted emotion as well.
exactly. And that's a really good and valid point. Thank you, Lynn. Yeah, it is very much, don't take rejection as something negative, because at the end of the day, it could have been you that was doing the walking away and going, actually, I'm sorry, it's not going to work between us. So it's always putting yourself in, being the chooser rather than, the chosen, because you've got to remember, any concept of dating, it's a two-way stream. You're both looking at one another to see if you're both compatible, and if this person is the right one for you, and vice versa. It's never about you going into a date hoping that somebody's going to like you, so that you're not alone. So it's definitely, going on dates and feeling powerful about yourself.
Yes, definitely. Very wise words, Ambila. And on that note, we're going to have to wrap up this episode. Fascinating conversation. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much for having me, Lyn.
And for our audience members who are listening to this podcast, who are really intrigued to get to know a little bit more about to contact you, what is your best contact information, Ambila?
My best contact, and where you will find me a lot more active and open, is Facebook. So come and find me on Facebook under my name, ambilanath.com, and connect with me, and then you can see my weekly live shows.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And I'll make sure Ambila's bio and any other contact information is, as always, in our show notes. So you can find out more about her there as well. Thank you very much again, Ambila.
Thank you so much, guys.
And remember, true love starts with opening your hearts. And on that note, goodbye and see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group Two Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.